Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl in your face while you're sleeping. Top 10 cool inventions that are older than we think. With many historical inventions, there are often disagreements about the identity of the creator, the origin of the idea, and the time when the product was first used. However, what if we told you we have finally cracked a number of cases? Today is your lucky day as we bring you a list of top 10 cool inventions that are older than we think. What is absolutely amazing is that we might not consider some of these as inventions, and rather find that they are just another part of our everyday routine. Anyways, without any further delay, let's jump into it. Number 10. Reality-based TV shows. In the early 1970s, filmmaker Craig Gilbert approached Santa Barbara housewife Pat Loud about having a camera crew film her and her family's daily life for a TV show. At first, Pat rejected Craig's idea because participating in the show might strip her and her family of their privacy and disrupt their daily lives. Eventually, though, Pat changed her mind, seeing the show as an opportunity to restore happiness to her life. The first reality show ever made. It was called An American Family. The series aired on PBS in 1973 and chronicled 7 months in the day-to-day lives of Pat Loud and her husband Bill and their 5 children who ranged in age from 14 to 20. An American Family marked a turning point in television history because it broke the traditional boundaries of how an average American family was viewed. It featured Pat and Bill's divorce and shocked the audience when oldest son Lance admitted he was gay. In fact, Lance was the first continuing gay character on TV. The series was quite popular when it aired because the audience was fascinated with the unscripted routine of the family. The show drew an average of 10 million viewers per week. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that will take just 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell and you get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works. Number 9. Contact lenses. Though seen as a modern phenomenon, the general idea for contact lenses was first envisioned by Leonardo da Vinci in 1508. Da Vinci believed that the optics of the human eye could be corrected by placing the cornea in direct contact with water. However, it would be another 350 years before someone actually invented the first contact lens. According to some reports, German glassblower F.A. Muller should be credited with producing the first contact lens in 1887. However, other reports cite Paris optician Edward Kalt and Swiss physician Adolf E. Fick as the creators of the first contact lens in 1888. These early contact lenses were made entirely from glass. They covered the entire surface of the eye, including the sclera, the white part. The lenses were heavy and reduced the supply of oxygen to the cornea, so they could only be worn for a few hours at a time. New York optometrist William Feinbloom invented scleral lenses in 1936. These lenses were made from a combination of glass and plastic, and were noticeably lighter than earlier models. But it wasn't until 1948 that California optician Kevin Toohey introduced a prototype of modern contact lenses, which were made entirely from plastic and covered only the corneas. Number 8. Teddy bears. In 1902, Theodore Teddy Roosevelt took part in a bear hunt in Mississippi. As he hadn't found a single bear, some men in the hunting party hit one over the head with a rifle and tied it to a tree. When a bugle was blown, that was the sign for Roosevelt to come over and shoot the poor animal. But Roosevelt felt this was unfair and walked away. Clifford Berryman, a cartoonist for the Washington Post, drew a picture of Roosevelt walking away from the bear. This portrayed Roosevelt as a kind, animal-loving gentleman, which worked well for a politician who wanted the people on his side. At this time, Morrison Mitchum, a candy shop owner in New York, decided to name his signature stuffed bear after Roosevelt, who granted him permission to do so. These new toy bears were so popular that Mitchum went on to create the Ideal Novelty and Toy Company in 1907. And kids, that is how teddy bears were born. Number 7. Social media. Social media appears to be one of the biggest innovations of the 21st century. On it, we share our thoughts and opinions on various issues. However, the 16th century inhabitants of Northern Europe may have beat us to it when they created Alba Albicorum, which is Latin for friend books. Around the 1500s, young men from the areas we now call the Netherlands and Rhineland began leaving home in search for a broader education throughout Europe. These men visited universities and scholars. Whenever they met philosophers, scientists, or students they admired, they'd have these people write a short comment in their friend book to commemorate their meetings. Sometimes, artists were also employed to draw illustrations in the books. Although the ladies of the era were not given the same travel opportunities as men, they also kept their version of a friend book. The female version tended to be more personal, filled with gossip, secrets, and inside jokes about their romantic interests. These books often contained tales of memorable events, lyrics to new songs, and personal poetry. The women's books were passed from one friend to another to jot down their thoughts, names, and sayings. An alba albicorum was definitely a way to show how popular someone was. But perhaps the basic human nature hasn't changed much while traveling from the analog to the digital social media. Number 6. Cellophane. Cellophane is a thin, transparent sheet made of regenerated cellulose. Its low permeability to air, oils, greases, bacteria, and water makes it useful for food packaging. So when was this actually invented, and how? Well, in the 1900s, Swiss chemist Jacques E. Brandenburger was at a restaurant when he saw another customer spill wine all over a tablecloth. The waiter had to soak up the mess and take the tablecloth away. Brandenburger began to wonder if a material could be made to repel the wine instead of letting it sink in. First, he tried spraying a waterproof coating on cloth, but it was too stiff and easily peeled off. He continued to experiment and invented cellophane in 1908. The name is a combination of cellulose and diaphane. By 1912, Brandenburger created a machine capable of large-scale cellophane production. In 1913, Le Cellophane SA was set up in France, but the outbreak of World War I made development quite a slow process. However, business was booming for the years to come when he died in 1954. Brandenburger was estimated to be worth $10 million. That is about $100 million in today's money. Number 5. Vacuum cleaner. British engineer Herbert C. Booth is responsible for creating one of the first powered vacuum cleaners. Before then, machines blew out air to try and push the debris away instead of removing it completely. Booth's experiments included putting a handkerchief over his mouth and sucking in air to see how much dust was collected. This encouraged him to work on his first design known as the Puffing Billy. Due to the size of the machine used for this invention, it was kept outside and pulled around by horses. In 1903, Booth set up the British Vacuum Cleaner Company. The vacuum manufactured by this company was a lot smaller, but it made a lot of noise. Nevertheless, it was a popular invention among the upper class. Even the British royal family owned one. Number 4. Submarines. Most of us associate the invention of submarines with World War I. However, the first workable description of a submarine was drawn up by William Bourne, an English innkeeper in 1508. Bourne explained why ships float and suggested that increasing or decreasing the density of a ship relative to the weight of the water it disperses would cause the ship to sink or float. However, Bourne didn't do anything more with his idea. So the world had to wait until the 1620s for Cornelius van Drebbel, court inventor for James I of England, to build the first submarine. Although there were various accounts by people who saw Drebbel's submarine stay submerged 5 meters deep in the Thames River for 3 hours, there were no credible drawings or explanations of how it worked. Drebbel's submarine was a wooden rowboat wrapped tightly in waterproof leather. It had air tubes attached to floats that reached the surface for oxygen. The submarine was propelled by 12 oarsmen because engines didn't exist yet. The first military submarine was built by David Bushnell in 1776. Known as the Turtle, Bushnell's submarine was wooden. It was driven by hand-turned propellers. During the American Revolution, the Turtle was used to attach explosives to the hulls of British warships. Although the submarine functioned well, the explosives didn't. In the 1890s, the first true submarines were developed by 2 rival inventors, built by John P. Holland and Simon Lake for the US and Russia, respectively. These submarines used steam engines and petrol for surface travel and electric motors for underwater cruising. Number 3. Play-Doh. Kids love Play-Doh because it comes in many colors and can be sculpted into anything imaginable. This popular children's product was invented by accident by Noah McVicker. He worked for a soap company and originally invented the putty substance to be used as a wallpaper cleaner. The cleaner worked great because it contained no chemicals, could be reused, and didn't stain the wallpaper. Noah's nephew, Joseph McVicker, worked for the same company and discovered that teachers were using the putty in their classroom for arts and crafts. Joseph is responsible for changing the name to Play-Doh and marketing the putty for children. The McVickers established the Rainbow Crafts Company to manufacture and sell the putty, which at first was only available in an off-white color. More than 315 million kilograms of Play-Doh has been sold since it was introduced. If you put all that putty through the Play-Doh Fun Factory playset, it would create a snake that could wrap around the world more than 300 times. Number 2. Gumball machines. Vending machines were introduced to the US in 1888 by the Thomas Adams Gum Company. Thomas Adams is famous for inventing chewing gum, and these machines held the original flavors of Tutti Frutti, Spearmint, Blackjack, and Clove. First fitted into subway platforms in New York, they were quite primitive. Coins were sometimes attached to string, put into the slot, then pulled back out when the gum fell out. The see-through machines that contained colored candy-coated gumballs were introduced in 1907. One of the modern worries is whether these gumballs are safe to eat if they've been in there a long time. The International Chewing Gum Association has made it clear that they're still safe to chew, even though the taste and texture could change. Number 1. Selfie sticks. The first selfie stick was invented way before the existence of mobile phones, and it was invented by a Japanese man named Hiroshi Ueda in the 1980s. A photographer and worker at the Minolta Camera Company, Hiroshi made the selfie stick because he and his wife were unable to take pictures of themselves during a trip to Europe. Fun fact, he asked a boy to take pictures of him, and the boy ran away with the camera. True story. Frustrated, he invented something that would allow him to take a picture of himself. He called it the extender stick. Since the iPhone really hadn't been invented yet, a small camera was to be attached to one end of the stick. It also had a small mirror on its front so that users could see how they would look in the photograph. He patented the extender stick in 1983. The product was mass-produced for sale, but it was a commercial failure. The quality of the pictures were low. Besides, previous research showed that women back then were embarrassed by the idea of taking pictures of themselves. The selfie stick was then reinvented by Wayne Frum in the year 2000, 3 years before Hiroshi's patent expired. Frum called it the Quick Pod. He believes he is the inventor of today's selfie stick and has even sued several other selfie stick producers. When asked about Hiroshi's selfie sticks, he said they were prior art.